The road to Unforgiven continues again, and we're doing back-to-back shows today. As yesterday, we enjoyed that SmackDown so much that we just went straight into the Raw review. Tro, how you doing? Coming off one of my lowest ratings for a weekly show in late 90s, early 2000s WWE. Tro, how you doing?
I am doing good. This show was certainly a show. There was too many. They opened the show with a segment. Oh, come on. Let's get to
Finally,
wrestling.
finally, after
Let's just have
this is
wrestling for the whole show, please.
this is our third episode on the road to Unforgiven 2001, and we've done a Raw and a SmackDown, and both the damn shows kicked off with a freaking match. We finally started the show with a damn segment. Ugh, finally, but at least
Childhood
again,
not ruined. Childhood not ruined.
at least again, at least the Raw the prior week actually started with like a backstage segment. But then after the backstage segment, they went straight into a freaking match. This one began the way a weekly show should begin, with a segment, not a match. But let's
This is
get
how
in
every show. This is how every show should start. Even the pay-per-views. Don't go right into the match.
a
Just cut a
paper.
promo. 20-minute promo. Start pay-per-view.
There have been pay-per-views that kick off with a promo. I don't
Yeah, but
let's say
they tend to be talk shit unless it's modern WWE, in which case it's just Triple H going out there. We're live. Welcome to WrestleMania. Welcome. Bye bye.
well, I mean, I don't expect pay-per-views to start with segments, but there were two pay-per-views that come to mind immediately that were around this time that kicked off with segments. Vengeance 2001 kicked off with Mr. McMahon because that was like the go home SmackDown to that was when The Rock, forced Mr. McMahon into Rikishi. We all know
Yeah.
that. So that was like that kicks off with like Mr. McMahon like being all angry and cutting a promo on everybody. And then just a couple of months, excuse me, later, No Way Out '02 was when the NWO returned. So
Yeah.
that pay per view kicked off with NWO, an NWO in ring segment. So for me, when it is something special like that, then that's fine. But obviously, pay per views are where you're supposed to see match by match by match. You have a few backstage segments here and there, but a couple segments on the pay per view is nothing wrong with that. But for weekly shows, that's where the segments should be. It's a television show, and we're gonna get into this show in question, which is the August 27th, 2001 edition of Monday Night Raw. As hang on one second, my laptop's being stupid here.
Have you switched from dial up yet?
No, I'm not on dial-up, obviously.
It's 2001. Everyone's is on the AOL.
Let me see. Oh boy.
We're live, pal.
All right, here we go. Okay, so we open with a clip from last week where they show the main event. Not last week, SmackDown. Again, I always call the prior show last week. Technically, when we're talking about a Raw and a SmackDown, it's not really last week. It's only a
Yeah.
few days ago. But we open with a clip of SmackDown the prior week that we just covered yesterday with the main event. Austin defeats Jericho to keep title again. He held the ropes. So Austin get a little heel heat victory there on Jericho. And now, hang on a second here. And now we open the show with they show the what's coming up tonight, and one of the things they show, Rock will defend the WCW title against Rhino tonight, and then Shane McMahon comes out, and just like I messaged you as I was watching this, oh my gosh, we're actually starting a weekly show with a segment finally after freaking this is our third show on the road to Unforgiven, and we finally have a weekly show starting out with a segment. Shane comes out. He talks about how he brought WCW 5 months ago with his own money, his own hard-earned money, to which JR says, yeah, your own hard-earned trust fund money.
You son of a bitch.
And he says, doing it to own the most dominant brand in sports entertainment. And one of the things that came with WCW was its champion Booker T. He was a champion that you could be proud of, unlike current WCW champion Rock. It's all about money, and Rock as champion doesn't make money for WCW. Again, this is all Shane's words. As Shane says, Rock has nothing to do with the history of WCW. Therefore, the next champion will be Rhino. Now, wait a minute, Shane. Now, wait a minute. That's a very interesting argument there by Shane McMahon. Rock has nothing to do with WCW's history. So we got to get it off him and put the belt on Rhino.
Rhino, the last ECW champion.
Right. How many WCW shows did Rhino have? I think he worked on one as like there's a lot of guys who who did like extra, tryout matches for WCW. Edge did one. I think I've seen a picture of Rhino in WCW. I could be wrong. But obviously, in terms of actually being on WCW as a contractor wrestler, no, Rhino was never that. So Shane McMahon could have, unless he's actually like being a heel here, which could be what he's doing. If he's not, he should have thought that through a little bit. But I think that was just Shane being a heel there. To which then Rock comes out and he says he knows the history of the WCW title. Traces back to Frank Gotch, which I don't know if it does. Then he says Lou Thez, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, and Rock also knows that the title has come to Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T, and the guy from Scream 7. The maid from the Jeffersons and the dog from I forgot which show. He said the dog from some other show, and so on. And then he says it's just like Stephanie McMahon. Everyone gets a turn. Okay, now Rock needs to be jumped tonight for that. I'm telling you, no, we do not.
I know.
We do not accept Stephanie McMahon hate on this channel. Rock deserves to get jumped for that. What were you gonna say?
Well, I thought you were going to say that because he was pretty much mocking WCW in 2000.
Oh no!
How everyone got a chance to hold the title. At least he wasn't like that writer guy who used to write here had the title.
Yeah,
he didn't bring up Hulk Hogan though.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, you want to talk about history? One of the biggest names, the biggest name to ever go through WCW. He held that belt. So also after mentioning Ric Flair, obviously The Rock was obligated to do the woo, and then he does the little strut. So, he didn't do the strut.
I wonder if Ric Flair will come in later. will play into this whole post invasion storyline at all.
Maybe
I wonder.
maybe we have to do a Road to Vengeance 2001. Obviously, we've already done a Road to Vengeance. Maybe if we did a Road to Vengeance 2001, we might find out on the very first show of that road if Ric Flair does get involved in the post.
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah. From what I heard, and not to spoil anything, because this road to Unforgiven does count towards the invasion angle. But from what I heard, once the invasion angle ends, Shane and Stephanie hire a conservative. Well, obviously before the angle ends, technically, but
The
that
custodium.
the cons-
Woo! Hungry.
Hey, wait, you're doing uh oh my gosh, what's the word? Impressions. You're supposed to do that with the other hosts.
He is not here today. You got throw.
um and Rock after all that, after he makes the Stephanie everyone gets a turn comment, he says, "Now though the title means something, and Rock will be the most electrifying WCW champion of all time because the company is the company's gone, but somehow Rock will be the most electrifying champion the company's ever seen." But obviously, from storyline wise, yes. Obviously, if
He's
you're
the
doing
greatest.
yeah,
When I think of great WCW champions, I think of The Rock.
The Rock never was WCW champion. Only
He
storyline wise.
he literally has the WCW title, and he's gonna be the most electrifying champion of all.
Anyway, Rock knows that he'll be defending the title against Rhino later tonight. But how about right now, as Rock says, Rock come down there and give Shane McMahon a shot right now. And that's when Shane does the just bring it. And Rock comes down, and then Rhino gets involved and ends up goring Rock and getting a little advantage going into the title match. So, what did you think of this opening segment here? We're building up. Technically, this is like sort of building up the handicap match, but then in the end for Unforgiven, and then in the end, you get a little build towards the opening match or the main event match of the
Yeah.
tonight with Rhino coming out. Although it wasn't the main event, it was one of. It was like the secondary main event match for the night with Rhino
Co-main
coming
event.
out. Co-main event, yeah, with Rhino coming out and goring Rock. So, what did you think of this opening segment here?
I thought it was fine. I did find it interesting how The Rock probably legitimately didn't know, but he didn't ever brought up like Chris Benoit was a former world heavyweight champion.
Oh yeah,
When he
for
was
one.
that was a hell of a night. It was so good that he left the company with Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and others.
Saved WCW a ton of money, like Mike Graham said. He saved the company a ton of money there that day, because with respects to Eddie Guerrero, because Eddie Guerrero absolutely could have drawn if they gave him a shot. But like Mike Graham says, he saw the ratings every week. They never drew a dime, and they were being paid like they did draw. They were being paid like main eventers. So it wasn't exactly a bad thing for WCW that Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn were leaving. They had something in Eddie Guerrero. They just didn't realize it. And WWE almost immediately figured out that they had something in Eddie Guerrero because the Latino Heat thing.
Well, he does get hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt in his debut, but the Latino Heat thing was only a couple of months after that, where he was rolling with China now, and that's really where we first got to see the greatness of Eddie Guerrero. And then obviously 3 years later, we had Los Guerreros, the lie, cheat, and steal thing, and just 2004, where Eddie Guerrero was tremendous as a WWE champion. And again, you know, they make so much about in the old days, if you were the champion and the company wasn't doing well, that it was on you. But
Like
this
when,
this
like Diesel.
no, I ain't even talking about that either. I mean like territory days. Going
Oh
back
yeah,
to like territory days.
they'd fire your ass.
Yeah, but uh when there's a television, when you got television and you got 2 hours of TV, it don't matter who the champion is. You're not going to have the champion on television for 2 straight hours. SmackDown in 2004, which I've always said is a very underrated year. I understand why the ratings weren't all that high, because who else outside of Eddie Guerrero did you really have? Brock Lesnar walked out. He's gone. That's your biggest star. You put all your eggs in Brock's basket. That's a problem. And then, you know, Kurt Angle's hurt. That hurt them big time. Although him in the GM role was tremendous. And then
You had Cena on the rise though.
Cena was on the rise. That was one good thing. And like I said, the with Angle as GM, they did some great things with Cena. They kind of did the whole Mr. McMahon Austin thing, but to a lesser extent with
Well,
Cena.
everything's been a lesser extent since they've tried that.
Yeah. And then yeah, JBL was a phenomenal heel, but still, when the ratings are low at this point, it doesn't matter who the champ is. It's not on the champion. You got to look at the rest of the show. What's going on with the rest of the show? Eddie Guerrero was phenomenal in 2004. A lot of people still talk about that JBL feud to this day. Some of that, yes, has to do with JBL because JBL was so controversial. He was such a damn good heel. But Eddie Guerrero played the babyface role in that feud so well. You know, the upset win over Brock at No Way Out was great. The cage match they had, him and JBL, was great. The feud with Angle afterwards. Shortly after that, after the Angle feud, it seemed like they were slowly starting to, like, next thing you know, he's like opening pay-per-view with freaking Luther Reigns. But yeah, 2004 Eddie Guerrero was really good, and I do not blame him.
I mean, he does have another main event match that
He
year though.
does, yeah.
In Armageddon.
Armageddon, yeah, and I
then he
believe,
opens up the Rumble.
yeah. No, he doesn't open up the Rumble.
Well, he's the first entrant.
Oh, as first entrant, yeah. But yeah, well, once you get into 2005, that's when the Rey Mysterio feud goes on, and that's really where Eddie is on. Now we see how great Eddie is as a heel. That was great too. But yeah, I do not blame Eddie Guerrero for the low SmackDown ratings. It's like, who else is on this damn show? They did some great things.
The Undertaker.
Yeah, Undertaker barely made appearances at that point. Like
But
after
we had Paul Bearer.
Yes, the whole Paul Bearer, and that was a great angle. I love that angle.
I blame Buffy.
it
It had to compete. You see, Raw's getting ready here to compete with Monday Night Football. SmackDown had to compete with Buffy.
Yeah, and well, I don't know. As you can see by my name tag thingy, I do not really want to think about Buffy right now for certain reasons. But yes, the not a lot of people are going to get that reference. But yes, that you got to go back to our June 10th, 2004 SmackDown review to get that reference, or also go back to our Road to WrestleMania 15.
Yeah, it's half of it is literally just Paul Bearer. Just loving Buffy, the show Buffy.
That's where that joke, the joke started though on our June 10th, 2004 SmackDown review, which was one of the most fun reviews both of us have done. So now getting back to the show in hand, just went off on the 04 Eddie Guerrero talk because you brought up Benoit, right? You brought up Benoit as the WCW champion.
Look, I didn't mean for it to get that far. I
Yeah,
was just stating the fact that he didn't bring up Benoit's champion.
yeah. Uh, so after this, we see Stone Cold Steve Austin backstage, and remember this: he has a bad arm. His arm is in a sling. And by the way, I mentioned when they were showing the upcoming matches at the beginning of the night, I failed to mention one of those matches was Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho. This is your actual main event for the night. Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Remember, his arm is in a sling here, and a mystery partner. And we're going to start understanding who that mystery partner is real soon, right here with this segment. And if you remember last week, we kicked off, oh, again, not last week, the prior show, SmackDown, we had RVD kick off. RVD kicked off the show in a match with Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy went for a swanton off a ladder through the table. RVD got out of the way, but then after that, Raven came in, tried to take the hardcore title, 24/7 rules. So he's trying to take the hardcore title from RVD. Problem is, both these guys are with the Alliance. So later in the show, RVD and Raven kind of agreed that they will face each other for the hardcore title, where it was like, well, RVD's like, well, Raven, why don't you go tell Austin? Raven's like, I'm going to tell him after his match. I think Austin was in the main event. So RVD's like, well, why don't you tell him now? So we see Austin here, whose arm is in a sling, and talking to Deborah, who's trying to tend to the bad arm, he yells at her, and right after he yells at her, RVD and Raven come in, and they say we got this hardcore title match, Alliance versus Alliance, and we just need your blessing, Austin. And Austin's like, how dare you guys? How dare you guys put yourselves before the Alliance? Instead, uh, Austin says, you know what? There's this main event tonight. I got a mystery partner. Why don't one of you guys be the mystery partner? And that's when RVD and Raven are like, well, why don't we both? You know, your arm's in a sling. You're all battered up. Why don't we both go out there and you can be by our side? And Austin essentially agrees to that. Decent little segment right there, building up the main event. What'd you think of it there? I will say
We're
this
getting that.
before you get to that. I'm sorry. Before you get to that though, seeing Austin yell at Deborah, knowing what we know was kind of
Yeah.
it was weird. That's all I gotta say.
No.
That was weird. But go ahead, give your thoughts on.
We're starting to get that slow descent into madness of Stone Cold. His
Yeah.
arm is hurt. He's yelling at his wife. He's started getting more paranoid because now the Alliance wants to fight within each other.
Yep,
It's a good segment.
it
Don't
is. And
the poor man whose arm is hurt. Okay.
yeah, remember that. Remember that for later tonight. His arm is in a sling. But
Yeah.
I will say this. As you know, this episode is no longer on Peacock. Raw, because the current Raws are on Netflix, have now been moved to Netflix, but Netflix has not put every episode up. So there's no way of watching this episode unless you're like me and you have some blank DVDs. One of the problem with blank DVDs is sometimes the people who recorded these don't have everything that was on the show. Literally right after this segment happened, this little backstage segment, it said up next, Undertaker versus Albert. I'm like, oh, okay, that should be a good match. They cut to commercial. The blank DVD kind of cuts out because the person did not record the commercials, and it comes back, and Matt Hardy's coming to the ring with Lita. I'm like, what the hell? So as it turns out, the person did not record Undertaker versus Albert. Thank God for YouTube, because
Yeah.
on the actual anniversary of the show from this past year, August 27th, 2024, somebody actually uploaded a bunch of clips from the show, and one of those was the Undertaker Albert match. So I was able to watch this match. That being said, right after the match, Hurricane Helms is interviewed by Michael Cole. The video of Undertaker and Albert that is in question cuts out right there, and so I can't see that segment. Here's the thing, though. I know that Daily Motion, that people upload full episodes on Daily Motion of weekly shows all the time. YouTube and Daily Motion are a little different when it comes to copyright. Like Daily Motion doesn't give a fuck. They're not like YouTube. So
Yeah.
I go to Daily Motion and I immediately found somebody who uploaded the episode in parts. So I'm like, oh, okay.
The
And
old
I,
fashioned way.
yeah, the old fashioned way. And I find the part that is supposed to have Undertaker versus Albert. So I'm like, okay, so this is where I'll find the Hurricane being interviewed by Michael Cole. And then I start skipping it because obviously it starts a little early. And then I realize as I'm skipping, next thing I see is Matt Hardy coming out. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? And then I actually look. I look at the top of the picture, and so for my picture, it has like a gold Fox Sports because I guess this was recorded in Canada or something. So it's got like a
Yeah.
gold Fox Sports logo. And then I look at the Daily Motion picture, gold Fox Sports logo. It's literally the same recording. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, okay, so there was a hurricane segment, a quick little interview segment after this upcoming
It's
match.
now lost media.
I I have no idea. I can't fully review it,
This
but
could be the greatest segment in the history of professional wrestling, and we would never know it.
anyway, moving on. The first match of this night, Undertaker versus Albert. We have a SummerSlam 2003 preview. And this was a solid big man match. I will say that. Um, Undertaker won the match by uh, countering the Baldo bomb into a chokeslam, getting the pin victory. Like I said, it was a solid big man match. It was a bit of a slow, not slow, a bit of a short match. Obviously, it's a weekly show. You expect short matches. Uh, I got no problem with this match. It was pretty good. What did you think of it?
They didn't have anything for Taker to do yet, so they're like, Wrestle Albert. That was a fine match.
Yeah, Undertaker. There again, we're building up to Unforgiven here, 2001, and
Oh boy.
there's a reason while I do enjoy the show, I think it's better than a lot of people give it credit. There's a big reason why the show is one of the more forgotten pay-per-views of 2001, and we've already seen it with these three shows we've watched. They haven't done a great job of building. They did do a decent job on this show, especially in the end. We will get to the end, but there are a lot of other matches on this card. Again, you said they didn't have anything for Undertaker yet. Undertaker is in a tag match, and the team that he ended up facing, we haven't even seen them yet. We're still a couple of weeks from the pay per view. We haven't even seen these guys yet. Perry Saturn's looking for Moppy. We didn't even see Perry Saturn on this show. And once we see the guy who stole Moppy, but it does not get revealed yet. So we're still waiting on that. I'm trying to think of other matches from this show. They're building Edge and Christian split. I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
They've
that's a bit of
done
a slow build.
they've done a good job with that. The Perry Saturn Moppy thing I think could have been revealed a few weeks. You said on yesterday's episode when they actually revealed it. It could have been revealed a few weeks prior. Even when you got Raven and RVD doing their thing, like that could have been. They could have done a lot more with that. Again, Undertaker's in a tag match. We haven't even seen their opponents yet. It was Undertaker and Kane, right? That tag match.
Yes.
And we have not seen Undertaker and Kane's opponents debut yet. The baby's still a couple. I'm trying to think of other matches on the card. Well, any other match, they really haven't built it up that well yet. That's the thing. And this one of the reasons why the Unforgiven 2001 pay per view is one of the more forgotten pay per views of 2001. Not because it was a bad show, just because they didn't really build it up all that well. And now again, the Hurricane Helms segment with Michael Cole interviewing him. Apparently, he talks about superheroes, which makes sense. This was at the beginning of Hurricane Helms, and in fact, this is where he goes from being Hurricane Helms to just being the Hurricane at this point. Because when he comes out for the match, he is dressed in full Hurricane gear, and even JR's like, "What the hell is that?" Like they acknowledge, like they've never seen Mr. Hurricane Helms look like this superhero. But that is where we get to our next match: Hurricane taking on Matt Hardy. Uh,
Oh boy.
Lita ends up. Oh no! So actually, Ivory. Remember, Hurricane helped Ivory beat Lita last week, which good on Hurricane. I mean, it's Ivory. I mean, how can you not love Ivory? So Hurricane gets a big two thumbs up for that. And now this week, Ivory returns the favor as Ivory comes out and hits Lita with a pipe, knocking her down. And then she hits Matt Hardy as well. And Hurricane hits the eye of the Hurricane, steals the pin, gets the victory. A very quick match. Not much to really say about it, except I like the interference. That is actually building towards the opening match. Oh, that's actually the opening match of No Mercy. What am I even saying? I was just about to say, at least they're building towards something. No,
No.
they're building towards No Mercy there. Okay, what can I say? They really did not care too much about this upcoming pay per view, and
Yeah,
we're on.
this is even before what happens in about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Where they would have an excuse to be kind of like, our head's not exactly on straight right now. Here's
Yeah.
maybe build.
I was,
This is pre that.
and even though we have not announced our upcoming Road Twos, I can tell you that No Mercy 2001 will not be one of them unless one of us changes our mind for some reason. But I'm not leaning. I'm not
Continue
leaning
the
towards.
story.
Yeah. So I will say at least they did something. At least they're building towards something here. So I can't hate this match too much. It was short, but at least it led to a little interference, building up towards something. It's building up towards the opening match of the next pay per view, not the pay per view we're on. Now we have Michael Cole interviewing Kurt Angle, but Kurt Angle just ignores him. He's like, "Hey, come watch this," and Cole follows him, and Kurt Angle finds Raven, and he just beats the shit out of Raven, puts him in the ankle lock, and Raven's screaming, and obviously this is not bad. This is bad news for the Alliance. Raven's supposed to be in the main event with RVD. Not good. So, what
Poor
are your
kid.
thoughts? What are your thoughts on the match there, Matt Hardy and Hurricane, and then the segment that followed?
I thought the match was fine for how quick it was. I'm thankful that we didn't have to sit through a Hurricane Helms and Matt Hardy match because, for whatever reason, even though they've been friends and they've wrestled each other probably hundreds of times,
Yeah.
they don't have a lot of good chemistry. And maybe it's because I've seen the most wrestle when it was Gregory Helms, but
Yeah.
still.
Okay, let me see something real quick. I need to look at the card for Unforgiven real quick.
He's spoiling himself, folks. We don't know the matches. He's like Dave Meltzer. He's bringing out his results.
Okay. Technically, actually, they are building because there's a 4-man. The Unforgiven kicks off with a 4-man elimination tag team match. And both tag teams in question, the Hurricane, although we do not see Hurricane's partner in this segment, that would be Lance Storm, is they are in this match with the Hardys. Dudley's Big Show and Spike Dudley are also in this match. So technically that gets a little build. It's not just the No Mercy Open. So I take back what I said earlier about they're building towards the next pay-per-view. This actually is building towards Unforgiven. So here are some of the other matches. RVD and Chris Jericho, hardcore title. Technically, RVD and Chris Jericho do see each other on this show, but they really haven't built that. Tajiri versus Rhino, U.S. title. Tajiri and Rhino have not. They haven't done anything with each other yet. That's about it. So here are the big matches that actually have had. All the big matches have technically had a little bit of build so far. Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold. I mean, you're following up SummerSlam. That technically there's already been build for that for SummerSlam, or through SummerSlam, but technically, still even after SummerSlam, they've done some stuff. The end of the show, like I said, is going to be big towards that match. Rock and Booker T Rock versus Booker T and Shane McMahon for the WCW title. Sort of a follow-up from SummerSlam because Rock did face Booker T in the main event. But now you have Shane McMahon involved. And they did build that up at the beginning of the show as Shane and Rock had that promo. Then you have Edge versus Christian for the Intercontinental title. They're slowly building that. To give them credit. And although this wasn't a big match, they are still technically somewhat building this Perry Saturn versus Raven. So,
yeah,
still not doing a great job of building the pay-per-view here, but better than it originally looked. Because I forgot about that four-team tag match. So now we're moving on here after. So now RVD needs a new partner. And let's see that. Okay, so now after going to commercial break, we're seeing Lita getting her knee looked at because remember she was attacked with a lead pipe by Ivory, and that's when they also bring Raven in because there's literally like Lita's laying on one table that's like over here, and then there's this empty table like right where the camera's facing, and that's where they bring in Raven and put him on that empty table, so he gets attention as well for his leg. And the trainer says, Raven, you cannot wrestle. Austin's here, and he's like, my gosh, like, we need you, Raven. What the hell? So Sean Stasiak comes in, and he's offering his services to take Raven's place. And freaking Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's calling everybody selfish at this point. Right? Remember, he calls Raven and RVD selfish for wanting to do the hardcore title match. Now all of a sudden, somebody who actually does want to help the alliance, Austin calls him selfish. He's like, how dare you be in this tag match and fighting for the alliance? You're selfish. And he says, you know what? Don't worry. I'm going to put myself in this main event tag match again. Like, your arm is in a sling. How are you going to be in this match? So Stasiak leaves. And then more Austin just calling guys selfish, essentially. He yells at Raven and for making Austin go out there because he's got this little ankle injury. My arm's in a sling, and you're not going to wrestle because your ankle is hurt. And no love for Lita in this whole segment, except you see her not for a hot second as she's getting her leg looked at, but this segment wasn't really about her. I thought this was a good segment. You just see like Austin going crazy and just calling his own guys selfish, even though what Sean Stasiak was doing is literally not selfish whatsoever. And this is not the last time we will see Sean Stasiak. There's a very funny segment involving Sean Stasiak later to come. But Tro, what do you think of this little segment here?
Austin goes up to Lita. Oh, what's wrong? Your little ankle hurts too. What about my arm? What about my neck? I was out for a couple of years because my neck. You don't see me bitching about it. Ironic because Lita would break her neck like
Yeah, on Dark
rather
Angel,
soon.
great,
Yeah,
great show that sadly only lasted 2 seasons. And Lita was literally in the series finale. She was in the last episode.
went out with a bang. She tried to hit
Yeah.
her Garana. Oof.
Which I believe you can still see in that episode. You see her hit a hurricanrana on somebody. I don't know how they edited it, but she
It's like it's like they try to do a pile driver on the last episode. Now I don't think anybody. I don't know. Did anybody ever get hurt filming Buffy?
um
was there any Was there any broken necks?
I don't know about serious injury. I will say this: there is one point, and it's not Buffy, but technically a part of the Buffy verse, where Angel, the guy who plays Angel, David Boreanaz, during the last season, he hurt himself performing a stunt. Like he, David Boreanaz apparently was one of those who did his own stunts, and he got like some type of foot injury, and there's like this one like episode in season 5 where for the most part David Boreanaz is like sitting down. Like every scene where you see him, he's like sitting down.
Why you
That
sitting down so badly? No reason.
so that's the only Buffy verse injury that I know of. I mean, I'm sure when you film an action television show like that, I'm sure there's probably minor injuries that
I'm sure many vampires were harmed in the making of it, seeing how they had to kill them.
probably.
That's why we haven't seen Gangrel in years.
Didn't I make a joke that oh yeah, but when we were talking about the home invasion
Yeah,
going back to the road to WrestleMania 15, we're gonna say that Buffy was gonna run in and like stake Gangrel and
yeah. Oh, Buffy, you're here! No, don't stake, don't stake Gangrel. He's part of the ministry.
oh boy. But yeah, great little segment there. Now we see Edge, and again, this is more building up to the breakup. And Hugh Morris is actually in this, and Hugh Morris actually said the name. Remember on yesterday's show, I was trying to remember the name of the grandma who was the aunt, excuse me, that was talking to Edge. It's actually Aunt Edna. Thank you,
Edna.
Hugh Morris, for bringing that up. So we see Edge drinking soda out of a can at catering, and that's where Hugh Morris comes out or comes over and says, "Wow, not all that shocked to find you near a soda pop, Edge." He's like he always every time he talks he like emphasizes Edge. He's like Edge, it's your fake name, Edge.
Like your
so
name's Hugh Morris.
yeah, that's exactly what Edge says. Fake name. Oh, okay, Hugh Morris, and he just goes off on like mocking Hugh Morris. And then that's when Christian comes over, and essentially Christian ends up putting Edge in an Intercontinental title match. So again, last week, again a few nights ago on SmackDown, Christian actually canceled Edge's Intercontinental title match, and Edge, obviously being the babyface, wanted that match. So he's like, "Well, what'd you do that for?" Now here tonight, Christian just randomly challenges Hugh Morris on Edge's behalf for the Intercontinental title. Hugh Morris obviously agrees. He walks away. Edge is like, "The hell did you do that for?" and then Christian once again, we, we're gonna defend the IC title tonight again. When when he was going for the European title, it was gonna be his title. But when Edge
Yeah.
is Intercontinental Champion, it's our title. Uh, a decent, quick little segment there. A little bit of good comedy. What do you think about that, Troy?
I found it very disturbing that Hugh Morris called soda pop.
Yeah, I don't understand what he meant, why he called it that. He's from
I
the
guess I guess
50s.
'cause
Hugh
he's from the
Morris.
50s, but also this was in Minnesota, I think, and I think they call it like soda pop or some shit like that.
I think so, something like that.
Those
Yeah.
sick freaks calling stuff soda pop. It's soda,
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
exactly.
Is it pop because it pops when you open it? Come on, fuck off. But what's this? This doesn't pop when I open it. Oh, there's no pop.
You just pissed off a ton of potential Minnesotians that may have been watching
Well,
this.
well, you want to know? I'll piss them off even more. Frank over there, he's a Bears fan.
You damn right. Fuck the Vikings.
See, and you just pissed off even more. There you go.
you made me do it. You had to bring up football.
I did watch the. They just uploaded the WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Even the WWE is excited about Legal Tampering Day.
Yeah. You know who got the biggest pop of that whole thing, NFL player
Fridge,
wise?
baby. Fridge,
It
of
was
course.
it was really Refrigerator Perry.
You
I'm like,
damn right.
damn.
Greatest defense in the history of the game.
They had like it was like mostly a few Bears players, and it was like former Cowboy, boo, former Steeler, boo, you're Super Bowl champion.
I mean
Ew.
that
He didn't win.
that
He didn't
match
win now, did he?
that match did take place in the Chicago portion of
No,
WrestleMania. Yeah, well, obviously.
wouldn't have worked in New York.
um, okay, so coming off of that little Edge and Hugh Morris, and we get a clip of Tess joining the alliance. They showed a little storyline, which this is one of the things that I loved about the invasion angle. The turns, guys joining, and this one was done so well. Tess had a reason for joining the alliance. This guy says he was all rah rah for the WWE, and how did they pay him? How did they repay him? By jumping him. The whole freaking roster just jumped him at one point. And so that is why he turned on the alliance. And that it leads us into Test taking on Bradshaw. And with the help of Shane McMahon, Bradshaw eats a big boot, gets pinned. This was okay. I like Shane McMahon. The interference with Shane McMahon. Obviously, this is part of the invasion angle, so I don't hate it for what it was. It was okay. What did you think of this?
It also makes sense because at SummerSlam, Bradshaw and Farouk interfered
Yeah.
with Booker T's match and clothesline Shane, so it's kind of like a little
To be
payback.
to be fair to APA, I believe they did that because Shane McMahon got
Yeah,
interfered earlier in the night in their match, so that was kind of payback for that. So I don't know
look,
what this
look,
would
Shane
have
was
been.
just looking out for his former brother-in-law, for almost brother-in-law.
Yeah. Well, we just went over that in our last Raw episode, right? With Stephanie and Tess
Yeah,
getting along. So, yeah, obviously. Okay, let's see. Now we have Austin yelling about Kurt Angle attacking Raven. RVD comes in. He thinks Austin did it so that he could team with RVD, which would be perfect. RVD says he'll carry the whole match. Deborah likes the idea, but Austin doesn't think so. He says he'll get back to RVD on that. Um, Now here we go. Here we go. First off, for Sean Stasiak, we see him stalking Angle. Stacy Keebler comes over, looking amazing as usual. One of the reasons we didn't see Stacy on that SmackDown episode, that may have helped the rating come up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we see Stacy Keebler here. She's like, "What are you doing?" And like, "I know how I'm going to get on in Austin's good graces. Follow me." So that ends there, but there will be more to come with Sean Stasiak and Stacy Keebler. As they say, stay tuned. Now we have the world title, WCW title, Rock versus Rhino. And I gotta say this: if we're picking the best match of the night, this would be it. Rock was obviously he took the gore earlier. He was fighting from behind for the whole match, and crowd was into it. It was a really fun match, and in the end, with the help of APA, because Shane McMahon was getting involved in this, APA came out, chased Shane McMahon out. Rock goes for the gore. Excuse me, Rhino goes for the gore. Rock gets out of the way,
Rock does the gore. Gore.
gets to rock bottom, and he retains the title. And like I said, if there's a match of the night for this one, it's definitely this. So, couple of things to go over here for you. Um, Hang on a second. We got to go all the way back to Austin yelling about Kurt Angle with RVD saying, "Well, why don't you team with me?" And then Sean Stasiak and Stacy Keibler stalking Kurt Angle, and then the WCW World Title match. What'd you think of everything there?
I thought it was great. Wasn't wasn't Strong Stacey at Kurt Angle's first match?
Yes, he was,
Because
but he was meat.
he was meat. Yeah.
Okay. Survivor Series 1999. One, and my goodness, we talked about how weekly show wise, the last show we did yesterday was one of the worst ratings I'll ever give a weekly show from the 97 to '05 time period. Well, wait till we ever review Survivor Series 1999. I love the Attitude Era. That is very much been talked about here on this channel how much I love the Attitude Era. One of my least favorite Attitude Era shows was Survivor Series 99. And you want to see me give a bad rating, a real, true bad rating from a show from that time period. Wait till we review that show. But go ahead, continue.
Not a fan of Big Show winning the title.
Oh, I'm a fan of that. That was a good way to end the show. And
Big Show
Austin get
Big Show sweeping the Survivor Series team.
eh, but Austin getting ran over is a cool moment, but the crowd, Detroit, for some reason, just did not really care for the show, man.
They were too busy with their Red Wings. I thought the world title match was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, Rhino's pretty good and Rock is the Rock. So
Yes. And what about the first one of those three? Austin RVD essentially telling Austin, "Why don't you but be my partner?" And Austin saying he'll think about it.
I find it interesting how Austin's just like, how selfish of you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll think about it. Damn, you might be right. Damn, you might be right.
All right. So following the WCW title, now we see the really good stuff from Sean Stasiak here. He talks about how before Kurt Angle wrestles, he has to drink a glass of milk, right? He's telling this to Stacy Keibler. And so where does that mean he will go? That means he's got to come to catering. And this is where Stasiak and Stacy Keibler are. And so Sean Stasiak shows Stacy Keibler that he has placed a bucket of old milk over the door. So if once Angle opens the door, this milk was gonna fall all over Kurt Angle, and this would not only be a way to get back into Stone Cold's good graces, but this would be a way to get payback on Kurt Angle for last week. And by this, at this point, I do mean last week. I'm referring to
Yeah.
Raw. I'm not referring to SmackDown. The milk truck incident. This would be the way Sean Stasiak gets revenge for the alliance and pours milk all over Kurt Angle. And so Sean Stasiak is like, look, let's hide behind this little divider here. And Stacey was like, well, I don't hear anybody coming. And Sean Stasiak like, don't worry, he's coming, he's coming. And then, oh no, who is it but Deborah? As
No.
she
Yeah.
walks in, opens the door, and boom, for the second week in a row, Deborah is drenched in milk. My goodness, why does this keep happening to the Alliance? But anyway, Sean Stasiak and Stacy Keibler as Deborah is yelling for Steve. Sean Stasiak and Stacy Keibler sneak out the back door, get out of catering before Deborah can see them. This this was a funny segment and one of the better segments of the night.
The bat phone.
Now we have Stone Cold Steve Austin blaming Kurt Angle for what happened. I believe he's blaming Kurt Angle for the milk thing with Deborah. Now we have Intercontinental title match. Edge taking on Hugh Morris with Christian on commentary. And again, we're building towards the breakup here. And what happens is Christian hits Hugh Morris when Hugh Morris was about to do the moonsault. And this DQs Edge. So obviously Edge is not happy that he just got disqualified, even though that he retains the title. We're slowly building here. The match itself, not much else to talk about the match other than the whole slow build to Christian and Edge breaking up. But what did you think about Sean Stasiak and Stacy Keibler's thwarted attempts to get payback on Kurt Angle and then the match that follows?
I thought the milk segment was pretty good. It reminded me of the Tajiri Jonathan Coachman segment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When first person walks through the door, you just screams, and Coach walks in, "Hey Tajiri!" He just freezes.
That is a good road too we could do in the future. Backlash 04. Not now. Not now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's up next. I found the match was fine.
Yeah.
Isn't Hugh Morris Bill DeMont?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that douchebag.
Know that? Did you just figure that out or something?
No, I just remember that he was.
Yeah.
He was Bill DeMont. Jesus, they really had fucking Hugh Morris. Trying to train and bully the freaking new wrestlers in the late 2000s. Yeah, that really went so well.
Oh boy.
Two failed runs in WWE. One is Hugh Morris. One is just plain old Bill DeMont. I don't think you're that good, dude. I don't think you have that leeway to fucking bully people.
Bill DeMont was like, he had a small role in WWE when I first started watching. So he was like one of those first guys I would see like every week. And anytime I tuned in to Velocity, it was more often than not him and what was his name? From Tough Enough. What the hell was his name? Josh Matthews. No, Josh Matthews, yeah. Or maybe the cat would sometimes be with Josh Matthews, but that is my first memories of build him on because he was a part of the SmackDown brand when I first became a fan. Is you obviously didn't see him every week. He was just a guy you'd either see him every once in a while on SmackDown or he'd be on commentary for Velocity every once in a while. So now we have Booker T. He's mad at The Rock for stealing the title, and so they show a clip last week of the. They show a clip from last week with little Booker T, and then Booker T says he's all mad about that, and they're like, "Well, if you're mad about that, you might want to see what your opponent for tonight, Big Show, did." So they show, I think it was Michael Cole is interviewing Big Show. He's like, tonight you're facing Booker T. What do you think about that? And Big Show's kind of like leaning over, and so you don't see him. You see his back at this point. Then he gets up, and he's got like black hair like Booker T. He's got the gloves on, and he just does this. He does an impression of Booker T. It was somewhat funny. Um, then we see Stephanie and Chris Jericho run into each other, and as Jericho ends up the big line from this is Jericho says, well, first Stephanie says Y2J is so 5 minutes ago. Now it's all about RVD. To which Jericho says, well, if it's all about RVD, then shouldn't you be the HOE? And the segment ends with Jericho walking away, and then Stephanie McMahon says, "That's not even how you spell it." It was, classic Chris Jericho, Stephanie McMahon stuff. But just like I said with Rock earlier, Chris Jericho should have been jumped after this. We do not take Stephanie McMahon hate on this channel. But yeah, that was a funny
But
segment.
she's not all grown up. She's not grown up yet, though. Not 2002.
Right, yeah, not yet, but she still looks amazing here. So the Booker T Big Show stuff was okay. Big Show mocking Booker T, but Stephanie and Jericho's little segment there was much better. Now we have Big Show taking on Booker T, and this again, this is just going back to Booker T's getting tired of being made fun of. He's tired of The Rock. He wants to get his WCW title match back. He wants to get his WCW title back, excuse me. And this match ends with Booker T hitting Big Show with a steel chair, getting the DQ, and just beating the hell out of Big Show after this. And again, this is part of building towards the rematch with Rock involving Shane McMahon this time too. And I liked it. Booker T's mad. He's you're continuously building up that main event. So what do you think about these three segments here? These last three.
Does the Booker T beating down Big Show write him off until around Survivor Series? Because I thought at like around Survivor Series time when they're picking out teams, it was like, oh my god, the Big Show's back.
Let me see. So no, Big Show's literally on the show. That 4-man elimination tag, that
Oh,
14 elimination tag match features Big
oh,
Show
that's right. Yeah,
and Spike Dudley.
it's
So
so
yeah,
weird. Why would they be like, oh, the Big Show's here? It's like, well, yeah.
maybe
Why wouldn't he be here for this team?
I'm pretty sure that Big Show was at No Mercy too. So I don't know.
Because I think it was like, oh, Vince McMahon will be on Team WWF. Obviously, it's like, no, Big Show now.
Yeah. Okay. So how about Stephanie and Jericho? Or no, first the Booker T. Yeah, Big Show mocking Booker T. That segment first. What do
I
you
like
think
that
of that?
Booker T's like still pissed off about it. Like,
Yeah.
no, this is still bothers me. You ain't the one to make fun of me, dude.
Right.
We'll be teammates in a year. Part of the NWO.
Yeah. For a short time. To be fair though, when Booker goes into the NWO, I think Big Show has an issue with it. If I remember correctly, Big Show had a problem with Booker T being in the NWO.
I believe
But
it.
yeah. So what do you think of Stephanie and Jericho, the HOE segment?
It's just Jericho calling her over and over again at this point.
Right. Yeah. I do like though that the end there was Stephanie going, "That's not even how you spell it." And then Booker T versus Big Show.
It was a fine match. I mean, Booker T is pretty good, so.
Yeah. And now we go to our main event: Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle taking on Rob Van Dam. And well, is it going to be Stone Cold? That's the question.
Obviously.
Stone Cold comes out again, still in the sling. I mean, that should give it away immediately. But Austin says, "Let me introduce to you RVD's opponent, Taz."
It's Taz.
So, and I should mention, RVD gets a big pop when he comes out. So this is kind of slowly starting. This is where RVD just sort of came in Austin's path these last couple of weeks, going back to when RVD and Raven had their issue on SmackDown. So this is where we're slowly starting to begin the whole, oh my gosh, RVD's becoming so popular. Is he going to join the WWE? Is he going to leave the alliance? So this is kind of part of that, especially RVD's going up against Kurt Angle, who is going to be one of his opponents for No Mercy, but he's also going up against his opponent for the upcoming pay per view, Unforgiven, and so Taz ends up being the partner here. So Taz actually main eventing a a pay per view. Oh, excuse me, a SmackDown or a Raw, whatever. He's main eventing something.
Whatever show we're reviewing today.
I kind of found it a little bit funny that at one point RVD is going for the 5-star frog splash and like both Angle and Taz were down in the ring. I'm like, oh, is this where they do the who's? This is gonna be like the first time they do the who's he gonna hit? It's like that would make no sense because they're not even teasing
He
that
just
yet.
he hits Taz just like, oh, this is for ECW.
But Taz was down and he was like on his stomach, and he wasn't even close enough to being hit with a frog splash. But anyway, the frog splash obviously was on Angle, but that would not be the first time in the upcoming episodes where we see RVD go for a frog splash and there are two guys laying on the mat. But Taz ends up putting Kurt Angle in an Taz mission at the end, which Angle counters into an Angle slam to get the victory. This was a pretty good main event, although, like I said, for me, the match of the night is is Rock versus Rhino. I would say the segment of the night is pretty much what happens here post match, where Austin starts beating up Angle and he steals the gold medals. And as you see in the thumbnail, he's wearing the gold medals and showing the WWE title to Angle. And that is how we go off the air. Stone Cold Steve Austin has stolen the gold medals, and that ultimately leads to our last WWE moment to happen in a pre 9/11 world. We will get to that in the future. We're still a couple of weeks away from that. But literally, the night before 9/11 is where we get to see
Yeah.
the culmination of what just happened. Austin stealing the gold medals. Um, but I thought that was a great way to end the show. I mean, they have not done a good job at all of building towards Austin and Angle here. So finally, we get something at least. And so, what did you think of the main event match here and what followed?
I thought it was very clever to have Kurt Angle be able to get out of the kata hajime of uh, of Taz, considering how Taz's first match was against Kurt Angle, and Kurt lost via a chokeout, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like in kayfabe sense, Kurt that's probably still eating Kurt up a little bit. So
Yeah.
he's probably learned at some point, like, oh, if I try to this, maybe this will work against, like, if I ever have to face Taz again.
Yep. There you go. And then the final segment of night before we went off the air. What did you think of Angle's or Austin stealing Angle's gold medals?
I like that. Like that. Austin just takes the medals. Like, oh, this is I'm a gold medals now.
Stealing Angle's gold medals in 2001 was a very popular thing. Benoit,
Yeah,
when they were building up Judgment Day with Benoit, Benoit stole the gold medals. There was that sort of comedic. That's the funny thing about the gold medal stealing. It always led to something funny. Angle, when he got the gold medals back, Benoit was always putting him in his trunks in a very interesting, spot. So Angle gets him back, and then he kisses him, and he realizes, oh no, what am I doing? And then, like I said, the culmination to the gold medals getting stolen this time leads to the final segment WWE ever did in a pre 9/11 world. That was a very comedic segment that we will get to in a couple more episodes. We're almost there. Where this is the last show of August, so the next, at least I think. Let me
yeah.
see. 28 would be Tuesday. 20. No, the next episode, the SmackDown should be August 30th.
Was the last Raw of
Yeah, this is the
August,
last Raw of August, but we
and
have
and next week would be September 6th. So
September 6th,
we're
and then we get to September 10th.
then then I kick it into then the fun begins.
Yeah, well, I should say, and I still stand by the comment that they haven't done a good job to build Austin and Angle, the main event for the upcoming pay per view. But you sort of forget that the milk truck incident was a part of building that up. So at least for the last two Raws, they have done a decent job of ending the show, building it up. But remember, in that SmackDown, Kurt Angle and Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't even know each other, apparently, essentially. Like, I still can't believe I'm watching the show yesterday, and I'm like, well, Kurt Angle's got to come out after the match, right? And it's like, well, Austin rolls
Nope.
up, Jericho grabs the ropes, 1, 2, 3, and like, okay, here comes Angle now. Here comes Angle now. Austin just grabs the belt, walks up the stage, and holds
La
the
di da
belt
da
up,
da.
holds the belt. I don't even think he held the belt up. I think he just walked out. And as he's walking to the stage, the bottom copyright thing pops up, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Um, I they but still they could have done a much better job of building this pay per view up, at least so far.
Yeah,
Um,
I
there,
did like they gave Austin his heat back
yeah,
because the next two spoilers next week he still gets he keeps the heat on him. Um,
so I'll say this: at least they're building up the big matches. I will give them this because Austin and Angle have had build. Rock
yeah,
versus Booker T and Shane McMahon have had build. Edge and Christian is having a slow build. When are we going to see with the exception of RVD and Jericho being in that main event and facing each other on two separate teams? When are we going to see RVD and Chris Jericho start building?
yeah.
When is
You have to
Steven
watch. We have to watch Heat.
yeah. When is Steven Richards going to come out and introduce the new tag team that is going to go up against Undertaker and Kane? At least we saw some build for the four-way elimination with Ivory interfering to help her, with Hurricane interfering to cost Lita the match against Ivory, and then Ivory again this week costing Matt Hardy a match with Lance Storm, or excuse me, with Hurricane. That sort of involves the four-way elimination tag match. We have not seen Tajiri and Rhino do anything yet. That's your U.S. title match. And again, they have been building Perry Saturn, losing Moppy. He's trying to find Moppy. But as you pointed out yesterday, we don't find out who took Moppy until literally the go-home show to the pay-per-view.
It could have been anybody.
Yeah, and Perry Saturn, as I said earlier, was not even on this show. So, or not this show. The Raw we just reviewed. Perry Saturn was nowhere to be found. At least he was on the SmackDown. He should, in my opinion, should have been on this Raw. Still looking for Moppy. You could have got something funny off of that. But overall ratings for this show, I will say it was much. It was better than the SmackDown that we reviewed yesterday, but still felt like it was lacking a little bit. But I would give it about a 7.5 out of 10. Tro, what's your overall rating?
I will give it a 6 out of 10.
So literally your same rating as yesterday.
Yes. No, I gave it a 4. I gave it a 4 yesterday.
Actually, no. I think you gave it I think you gave it a 5. I just realized. I think you said 5 yesterday. You definitely didn't say 4. I don't remember you saying 4. I think you said 5 actually. Because I went 6.5, and no, didn't you? I'd have to look back in the video. I'm thinking, because I remember like I said 6.5, and then you went like 6. You went one below. Or, no.
Well, it was a show.
Yeah. Well, this show was. I think we're both in agreement that this Raw was much better than the SmackDown. Would you agree?
Yep.
Yeah, because you definitely. I think 6 was. I think you went 5 or 5.5. So 6 is obviously better. But anyway, before we end the show. It is a big day for football with legal tampering. I mentioned it earlier, legal tampering today, which all that means is you still can't officially make any moves, but now you can at least tamper with free agents and you can get a deal that will be announced by the beat writers and everybody, but it still technically won't be official for 2 days. But is there anything you want to see the Giants do today?
Not sign Aaron Rodgers. That would be.
That would be smart not to do that. At his
he has to finish the story and join the Vikings, as is tradition of every Packers quarterback.
I mean, at this point in his career, if he wants to join just like if he really wants to do the whole, the whole Brett Favre thing. When Brett Favre joined the Vikings, his last game, the last play he was ever on the field for, was a sack from Bears legend Corey Wooten. Corey Wooten put Brett Favre down, and Brett Favre never got back up, at least in terms of to run a football play. I mean, he's fine now, but,
he's still on that field today.
So maybe Aaron Rodgers will go to the Vikings, and big boy Javon Dexter will put him on the ground, and he'll never play another snap again.
Well, he has to have a few seasons in Minnesota first.
Well, hopefully those seasons will be very different than Brett Favre's first.
Are you sure about that? I think you'd want to get to the NFC title game and then lose in miraculous fashion.
That was literally the year Brett Favre got hurt. We clinched the division that night. It's literally that year. The first year that Brett Favre had with the Vikings, they went to the NFC title game.
Yeah.
And Brett Favre threw an interception to lose the game. And
his first interception all year, by the way.
The Minnesota Vikings radio announcer, had one of the most one of the most memorable calls. Like, this isn't Detroit, it's the Super Bowl, which it isn't the Super Bowl. But
it's for the Super Bowl.
That's what he meant to say. It's for the Super Bowl. but he said it is the Super Bowl. He's like, this isn't Detroit. And I'm like, my gosh. And I hate the Lions, obviously. I ain't got no sympathy for those 2009 Lions, which were a very bad team, even though that was first year with Matthew Stafford. But I'm listening to that and I'm like, man, imagine being a Lions fan listening to this. Like, gosh, they gotta hate that guy. You know.
Well, if they really want to do it a full circle, that means we have to get the return of Bountygate.
Yeah,
Saints players paid to injure player, injure other people.
yeah. Well, interesting. Funny thing is, we now have a former Saints defensive coordinator as our defensive coordinator, but it's not that guy. It's not the guy you're thinking of. Not Bounty Gate guy, and
Yeah.
we'll never see a controversy like Bounty Gate again. I doubt that. If we do, that'll be ashamed because granted, the NFL is a very violent sport, but
For
you're
now,
not.
yes.
You shouldn't be going out there looking to seriously injure players. It's somewhat like pro wrestling where although obviously in the NFL you really are trying to win, but in pro wrestling you want to protect the guy you're working with.
What?
And in the NFL, even though you want to sack a quarterback, you still want to protect him. You don't want him to have a Joe Theismann moment, obviously.
Like if you're a defensive end, you're not calling spots right before you sack the quarterback. Sack, and the quarterback says, "Okay, touchdown." That's the John Cena of calling stuff. Calling hot hike, touchdown. Okay, the defender's like, "Oh, we're touching you."
That's funny.
Philly special.
So, well, when it comes to my team, I asked you what you want your team to do. Um, I'm not a big fan, first of all, of making crazy free agent signings. I think that's been well documented on this channel, just like my love for the Attitude Era. But if we can make minor signings to bring in really good pass rushers or offensive linemen, I will have no problem with it. They've already done a good job of revamping the O line. We need a pass rusher. Everybody's talking about a Khalil Mack reunion, and while again he's getting up there in age, but I would not be mad if it's like a 1 year deal. And with a
How
Khalil
old is
Mack,
he?
he's got to be like 33, 34,
That's
somewhere
too
like
old. That's too old, friend.
not at a 1 year deal, I'll say that. A one
Too
year
old. It's like signing Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander.
Max Scherzer was
Mm,
38.
You're
Verlander
just
was 40.
and in the NFL, once you reach
40.
your 30s, you're as old as Tom Brady was.
And Tom Brady won championships in his 40s. I wanted Brady. When Brady was a free agent in 2020, I wanted the
The,
Bears to sign him.
he's a
And
man from New England. He does what every northern eastern person does. He retires to Florida.
yeah, well, and then
He
he
wasn't going
came
to
out.
Chicago.
He came out a couple months ago and said he was real close to doing so, which pissed me off. Like, oh yeah, I'm
But
glad to find that out now, all these years later.
you
I
don't need
wanted.
him. You guys had Justin Fields.
No, we didn't.
You had
This
Big Dick
was
Nick.
no. We had Mitchell Trubisky,
He
and
had
then
Big Dick Mitch.
yeah, well, yeah. Whoop de fucking do, Mitchell Trubisky. But I wanted to draft, or excuse me, I wanted to sign Tom Brady and draft his replacement right away too, or at least a year later. I mean, they could have still drafted Justin Fields and had him develop under Tom Brady, but um, yeah, like uh, like what happened. Brady said no. He was gonna sign with us, but he ultimately He said he, well, at least he said he was close. But uh, in terms of what's his name, Khalil Mack, if we do end up signing him, hopefully it is a 1 year deal. But if we do sign him, it will at least give me a new jersey, a new jersey to wear during the season. I currently only have two current players, Jalen Johnson, who changed his number on me. So I have a 33 Jalen Johnson when Jalen Johnson now wears one, but at least still he's a current player. And I have Jaquan Brisker, who literally, Jaquan Brisker was the guy that we essentially got in the Khalil Mack trade. We traded Khalil Mack for, was it 2 second round picks? And one of the second round picks we used was Jaquan Brisker. We used on Jaquan Brisker. So if Khalil Mack comes back, I will have both a Mack jersey and a jersey of the guy that we essentially
You you don't even have a Caleb Williams jersey on yet.
not yet. It's coming
Tis,
soon.
tis, tis.
It's coming soon. We got a comment here. Ballo Boys says, "Gang, gang, what's up, Ballo Boys?" We get a comment just after we finish the show.
Yeah.
We finished the show that we were talking about, and we finally get a comment. Shout out to Ballo Boys, though. So anyway, any final thoughts on the August 27th, 2001 Raw?
Not really.
Well, there you go. Our next show, we will be continuing the road to Unforgiven '01. We will be covering the August 30th, 2001 SmackDown. And obviously, at the end of the month, we'll be well,
A few weeks from
baseball,
now. Now this point.
baseball does begin at the end of the month, so it won't be at
Yeah.
the very it won't be at the very end of the month, but it will be close to the end of the month. We will do our Mets season preview. Um, we will do an Islanders recap in April,
Oh
early
boy.
April for March.
What a fun
Um,
what a fun time that will be.
Terrible loss last night. Terrible loss. I don't know what.
Great effort there, guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm so tired of watching Patrick Roy pull the goalie too in ridiculous.
12 minutes left. He pulls him. Jesus Christ, Patrick. Come on, dude.
This is not the team to be pulling the goalie on to. Every time they can't keep the puck in their own zone.
We
When
don't
pull.
we're not good with a man advantage normally. What are you doing there, dude?
I will say this: I do like the idea of let's see what if Adam Boquist can play an offensive. I know why they did it. I don't think they were doing it to actually be like, oh well, let's see if he can play that. Um,
I can
what was his name? McLean was hurt, so he couldn't play.
He was sick.
Oh, he was sick. Yeah, he was sick, and so
I'm
they
sick
put.
too.
Well, you can't play tonight either. Well,
Sick and tired of this fucking. Sick and tired of seeing the same fucking shit.
So they tried Adam Boquist as the fourth line center. The Islanders picked up so many defensemen, including Adam Boquist, middle of the year when everybody was hurt, that now you can't even play all these guys. Boquist is known to be able to score. He's really good scoring. He doesn't have the defensive game down, so why not? If he's got the skill to score, why not see if he can play an offensive position like a center or forward? I'd rather see him as a forward because defenseman trying to win faceoffs isn't exactly the smartest idea. But have him play forward, see what he can do. That will once again open up a spot to get the, you know, Scott Perunovich, who didn't play yesterday, but I mean, you picked him up. It's like, oh, this guy's a Hobie Baker Award winner. You trade for him. It's like once everybody got healthy, he was one of the odd men out. I'm glad they got something for Dennis Chalowski because it's like this is a guy who's never going to crack the lineup once all those other defensemen
Yeah.
got brought in. So they trade him away, got something for him. That's fine. At this point, but now still, even with Chalowski out of the picture, he wasn't one of the guys that was clogging everybody up. You they barely play Scott Perunovic since everybody got healthy, and now freaking our old buddy who scored the goal on the live stream, the first person
Oh,
to score on live stream, he's back. Although he's not playing, he's healthy. Why am I forgetting his name?
Mike Riley.
Mike Riley. Yeah, he's back. I don't think he'll be on the team next year. So in terms of like next year, he won't. I don't think he'll be a factor in that. But still, maybe you try. And I know this is a wild idea, and it was just that, you know, he was sick. What's his name? McLean was sick, so they
Yep.
had to act fast, and they were like, "Well, let's try Boquist as a center." But to keep all these defensemen and to have all them play, why not see if Adam Boquist can play forward? Why not going to next year, or even like why just try it right now? And if it doesn't work, you scrap it. See what you can do with all these defensemen.
I
But
can't. I can't wait for mid-April when when we're officially eliminated, or it's like we have to win this game, or we will be eliminated, and Patrick Waugh just starts the third period with an empty net.
I'm still holding out hope that they can sneak into the playoffs. I will say that.
At this point, I don't know if it's even worth it.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think at this point we're probably going to get swept if we did make it in. This team does not look ready for it.
Well, there are some things to look forward to at least going forward because you got the kid Callium, whatever the hell his last name is. Oh,
Like
Richie.
we'll
Callium
probably
Richie.
beat the Kings tomorrow because of course we will.
Well, then good. Like I said, I'm still holding out hope they make the playoffs. So if they beat the Kings, I'm fine with it. And they were on second game of a back-to-back yesterday, so
That's not an
there's
excuse. That's not an
but
excuse to play like
it,
that though.
it still happens. These guys get tired. And it was not a good time to get tired because again, there's always the argument, and we've been on the other side of the games in hand thing and for these last couple of years, the Islanders would be trying to sneak back into the playoffs. Everybody's like, they don't have the games in hand. And I'm like, I mean, the other teams have games in hand. I'm like, that is the most overrated stat in the world because if you don't win your games in hand, then they don't matter. And I was saying that and the Islanders would still make the playoffs. And now this year, they're the team that has the games in hand. And this is at least now 2 games in a row of games in hand that they did not win. So again, the game in hand stat is one of the most overrated stats in all of sports. And the Islanders have proved it now. They proved it by making the playoffs when other teams had games in hand. And now they're trying to prove it on the other side of things by missing the playoffs when they have games in hand.
Yep.
Yeah, but anyway, like I said, we got August 30th SmackDown coming up, Mets season preview coming up, Islanders 8 March recap coming up at the beginning of April. Thank you to everybody who watched this. If you liked it, please subscribe, and we will see you probably on Wednesday. We'll see about that, but we believe we will see you Wednesday. So thank you to everybody who's watched.